welcome to Beth's Naughty Reads. I need to introduce you to Beth LaMontagne and her new sexy haircut.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing. All them layers and all them highlights.
You're insane.
It's summertime around here.
Summertime.
You gotta get them highlights soon.
Yeah, you do.
All right, let's get into your stories. Let's hear it.
Hey guys, as my wonderful producer and husband said, I'm Beth LaMontagne. Welcome to Beth's Naughty Reads. I hope you guys are ready to get naughty tonight as we look a little deeper into V. Keeland's book, Inappropriate. Before we get into Inappropriate, though, I want to remind you guys to please follow me on all the socials. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook under Beth's Naughty Reads. Also, if you would please take a moment or two to give me a thumbs up and provide some feedback so that you can help this podcast grow and get bigger. Let's see where to start. Well, first of all, V. Keeland, thank you, is a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today bestselling author. She has quite an extensive catalog. I will tell you that I first came across V when she co-authored with Penelope Ward. They did several books together, and I happened to come across one of them and instantly liked their writing. So I decided to take a look at what V had out there, and she's got so many books, and I absolutely love her books. I struggled because I pay for Kindle Unlimited, so I found it hard to justify paying for Kindle Unlimited and also purchasing the books, the ebooks. But as of recent, I'm super excited to say that she has opened up a lot of her work to Kindle Unlimited. So you can now go out and grab, read a lot of her stories now under ebooks, under Kindle Unlimited. The story I'm going to talk about today is Inappropriate. This was a fun story. So it starts off with the main female character. Her name is Ireland St. James. She starts the story off by waking up with a hellacious hangover. And we proceed to learn that she just returned from a recent girls' trip. And on said vacation, the hotel had a nude beach. So her and her friends, I think she went with like 3 or 4 friends, they decided to partake of the nude beach and take their tops off. Well, when she returned from vacay, she received a letter saying that due to this video, she no longer has a job. How that you can, you pay, you play, I guess, right? So she proceeds to get very drunk that night and writes a scathing email she just goes straight to the top. She writes a scathing email to Grant Lexington, who is the main male character, and he is the CEO of the company she works for. Totally blanking on the name of the company. It's kind of irrelevant, so I'm not worried about it. But she starts right at the top, right? And she kind of just writes them this scathing letter about how ridiculous it is that she's gotten fired for something she did on her personal time that was posted to her personal account. So it wasn't her work Instagram, it was her personal Instagram, and she doesn't understand how the two can correlate. Well, immediately Grant is intrigued just from the email alone. He thinks she's hilarious. Well, she wakes up the next morning and she realizes and remembers what she's done in a complete, utter panic. So she rewrites an email saying, just joking around, that somebody stole her laptop last night. She's not sure who wrote the email, but what the email should have said, and she proceeds to ask for, his help and a good reference. They meet because her boss finally called, her ex-boss now, calls her in and says, hey, you can come. You have 10 minutes at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to come get your stuff and get out of the building. Well, she's waiting in a coffee shop that's right next door to their building, and in walks Grant. And Grant notices there's no place to sit, and she has an extra chair at her table. So he wanders over, and she is actually watching, I guess, Ellen DeGeneres has some funny videos out there that she watches whenever she's stressed or down. And so she's cracking up at one of the videos that I'm trying to think of the singer's name. Anyways, no, it's a female one. The one that totally, like, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't find it. Anyways, she sees this video where this person scares another actor to death, and she's cracking up. And the gentleman that walks up to her says, "Oh, I really like those too. Do you mind if I have this seat right here?" And she's like, "Who are you? And why are you're in a whole cafe. Why do you want the seat next to me?" And he proceeds to say, "Well, there's no other seats here." So they meet. She has no idea who he is. They meet. He kind of flirts with her. She flirts back, and he gets her phone number. Well, 10 minutes later, she's in the building and she's trying to exit. Her ex-boss is being a total a-hole. So she decides to kind of create a scene as she's leaving the building to share, his sexist thoughts on women in media and how women should be able to get these jobs. In comes in Mr. Lexington and immediately proceeds to stick up for her. She's then pissed because this whole time he knew who she was, but she had no idea who he was. So you kind of think, okay, what's going to happen with this? Well, she ends up getting her job back because he just felt like she was wrongly fired. So because he is the CEO, lo and behold, he can just hire her right back. So they really get to learn a lot about each other. It's hilarious because Grant tries to come off as this really closed soul, if you will. He doesn't let anybody in. He's grumpy. However, he wants to interact with her so badly that he creates this women in the workplace committee just so that he can appoint her to it and interact with her, as often as they feel that group needs to get together. They end up spending a lot of time together. They start to open up to each other and really start to care about each other as people. They both had some really hard pasts. You learn that her father is in prison for killing her mother in a drunken rage one night. Yeah. And he grew up, he was a foster child who, when he got into the system, because I think he went in the system in 8 after his mom passed away, he is immediately adopted by the people who fostered him. They still continue to take in foster children, and he ends up falling in love with one of his foster sisters, if you will. And they kind of have a tragic relationship that you learn about throughout the whole entire story. They both learn to kind of feel for each other and the things they've gone through. He kind of lets his past, his scarred past, if you will, keep him from going all in on this relationship. And there comes a point where he's finally like, you know what, I need to be all in if I'm going to do this. And so he quite frankly tells her, I've never wanted, I think the line was something like, I think about you at 11 o'clock every day. I normally don't think about a woman until 11 p.m. when I'm lonely and want somebody to come over, which I thought was sweet, even though it's kind of a little bit slutty. But so, they really learn to trust each other. They are slowly falling in love with each other. And then events start to occur in the book that really challenges their relationship, that they have to work through. So it is a great read. I'm going to share a couple snippets. So the first one I'm going to snippet is their meet cute. And for those of you that don't know what a meet cute, it is the instance where the male and the female character meet for the first time. And so this is from Ireland's point of view. It says, I ordered a decaf since my nerves were already shot and went to sit at a corner table. So this is the scene I was talking about earlier. Whenever I feel stressed, I watched Instagram video clips from the Ellen Show. Oh, look, they're going to give me the names I couldn't remember. They always crack me up, and that in turn helps me relax. I clicked on a funny clip where Billie Eilish scared Melissa McCarthy, and I laugh out loud. Looking up from my phone when it ended, I was caught off guard to find a man standing next to me. Do you mind if I share your table? I looked him up and down. Tall, gorgeous, expensive suit. Probably not a serial killer. Then again, my ex always had perfectly tailored suits too. I squinted and asked, why? The man looked to his left and then to his right with his greenish gray eyes returned to meet mine. I thought I detected the slightest twitch at the left corner of his lip because all the other seats are taken. I surveyed the room. Oh shit, they were all taken now. Lifting my purse off the table, I nodded. Sorry, I didn't realize the place had filled up. I thought, well, never mind. Please help yourself. That lip made the slightest twinge again. Did he have a tick or was I amusing him? So that's kind of their meet cute. The second snippet, I'm going to set up a little bit. So Ireland's best friend is getting married in the story. And they have lived together since they've known each other since they were 3. They've lived together since they graduated from college, so the last 7 years. And Grant, he is coming. Sorry, hold on. He is, Grant is coming as her +1 to the rehearsal dinner. And so he gets to meet her roommate, the bride, and he doesn't know anybody. So to make him feel better, the bride says, listen, grabs him by the arm and walks him in. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a secret about everyone at this dinner so that you feel like you know everybody. And she points to her roommate, which is Ireland, and says, let me start with her. She hides her porn CDs in Disney DVD cases. And so Ireland is immediately shocked because A, she didn't know her roommate knew that, and B, she can't believe she's telling this dude that, right? So Ireland has gone, they're now home after this dinner, right? And she's gone into the room to change. And he says, let's see. There it is. Grant gives her a bit of a hard time. Okay, so she explains she went through a dry spell and asks if he's never watched porn. And she figures while they're on the topic of porn, she's going to dig a little bit deeper. So she says, I laughed, took the wine out of his hand and guzzled half of it in one gulp. As long as we're on the subject, I figured I might as well see what type of things he likes to watch. Lord knows, I found I had a bit of a fetish. Is your collection specific to any type of porn? Grant squinted. Are you asking me if I like to role play or have any fetishes? She shrugs her shoulders. I guess I just found certain things worked for me while others didn't. He took the wine glass from her hand, drank the other half. I'm not particular, but now I'm desperate to know what you're into. So that's kind of like the turning point of when their relationship begins to transition to more than just friends. Oh yeah. This third snippet is when they're when they've definitely stepped the line now, and this is the first time that they're like openly flirting and being sexual with each other. So on the way back to Grant's house, Ireland stops to pick up a cheesecake. And so they're talking about the cheesecake and they've been making out, and they decide to go in because they were on a back deck. They decide to go in so they have some privacy, and he grabs the cheesecake and says, let me get us some slices. And he comes back and he's got 2 slices of cake on one plate and 1 fork. And so she's like, apparently we're either going to share their fork or they're both for me. So he proceeds to give her a bite and he asks her, good? She says, delicious. Try some. His smile was positively wicked. He set the fork on the plate and used 2 fingers to swipe a big piece of the second slice. Slowly, he brought his hand to my mouth, but when I parted my lips for him to feed me, he shook his head. Don't be greedy. You already had some. He smeared the cheesecake on my neck, trailing a slow line down over my throat, continuing onto my chest and down into my cleavage. I gasped when his mouth swooped down to lick the creamy mess. He took his time, starting at my neck and licking and sucking as he slowly guided towards my cleavage. When he got to the upper swells of my breast, he teased and flicked his tongue. The rise and fall of my chest sped up in unison with my labored breathing. Grant looked up at me with his hooded eyes from underneath his dark lashes and said, you're right. Excellent cake. Listen, they proceed to have so much fun with this cheesecake that I wanted to go out and buy cheesecake so that Greg and I could do this fun. It was fun. It was great. And so it was right. Like that was the first sexy scene, if you will. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I looked at some reader reviews.
Hang on a second. I just ordered cheesecake.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
That's smart. Is it because you knew, or you just felt like having some cheesecake? So I did look at some reader reviews. I pulled 3 that I strongly agreed with. So I'll share the first one. Is from Shannon Hunt. It said, reread this beauty. It's been a long while since I've read this, and it still affected me like the first time. Laugh, cry, anger, and joy. To have such a traumatic experience break down a person's soul is often not easy to overcome. Life's a tough journey, and we all need love to survive it. Thanks for the escape. And then a Kindle customer, who we don't know is, says office romance. It said, Ireland gets fired from her job and mouths off to the head of company. Her boss's boss's boss, only to be surprised when he replies. What starts off as a quirky, amused back and forth quickly becomes heated when they meet, but she's weary of an office romance and he's wary of anything serious. Except neither of them can avoid what ultimately happening. But first, Grant has to deal with unresolved issues before they can make a go of it. And then this one from Anna, it initially was in Spanish and I was going to try to read it, but I wouldn't know what I was saying. And a lot of you probably wouldn't know what I was saying. So I decided to have it transcribed to English. So And it says, beautiful story. I love V. Keeland's way of writing, and this story is no exception. I loved it. It made me laugh, cry, and sigh. Since I started, I couldn't let go of the book until I finished it. Grant, a man who hides great wounds from the past, and Ireland, a strong woman who has a difficult past, but who complement each other perfectly. I highly recommend it to those who like a good book on contemporary romance. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Overall rating, I say I would give 3 jalapenos. It is more about the story than it is the spice. The spice when it happens is awesome. It's really good, but it's not the main focus of the book. So that's why I gave it 3 jalapenos. But when the sexy happens, it's definitely hot and steamy. So that's kind of cool. I did give the overall story rating 5 stars. It was a really good story. I had, like that other reader, I read it pretty quickly. I had a hard time putting it down. I think I read it in probably like 5 hours one afternoon. I think that the book is a great story. You can feel the pain the characters are having, even as they try to figure out how they move on from the things that have happened to them so that they can open their heart to love. I think it has some lessons then there. It does have, just as some warnings, it does have some ties to addiction, and a child does pass away in the story. So just a heads up on that, but it kind of helps once you understand what's happening and why these things and how these things have impacted the characters, you start to understand their struggles. But I did want to give a heads up on that. I would also say go check out V. Keeland's social media pages. You can find her under V. Keeland on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's what I had for you today. I will tell you the next episode will be in 2 weeks because we are going on a much deserved vacation. So nothing will come out next year. I will tell you that, or next week. Thank you. Did I say next year? Duh. I will tell you that as I was getting ready for vacation, I was looking through my Kindle library. So I can download Kindle Unlimited to my books. And I was kind of trying to figure out okay, which ones am I going to earmark to read while I'm on vacations? And I just happened to open one by Pippa Grant that I actually put in my library a year ago and hadn't read. So I started reading that one. And I think that's going to be what I'm going to try to do, is some of these books that have been in there for a while, get them out of my library and enjoy reading them. I will say, check out my social media pages so that you can see who and what I'm reading and what I'm saying about them, since there won't be a show. But I hope you guys have a great 2 weeks, and I'll see you soon.